You know those moments, right? We all have them. Those huge, life-changing questions where you just feel completely lost, like you're standing at a fork in the road with no map. The kind of choices that just keep you up at night, staring at the ceiling. And you know exactly the ones I'm talking about. Is this career, is it really fulfilling me? Or, is it just paying the bills? You start wondering, is the comfort of what I know actually holding me back? Could there be a whole new adventure, a totally new version of me out there somewhere else? Or is it just draining my energy? Gosh, that's got to be one of the hardest questions any of us ever have to ask ourselves. It sounds a little crazy, I know, but what if there was a simple, timeless system for making the right call, one that's just been kind of buried under all the noise of modern life? Well, that is exactly what we're going to dig into today. So, we are turning to a text called the Vanapatthha Sutta. In it, the Buddha is talking to his followers about something incredibly practical: how to figure out when you should stay put, in your path in the woods, and when it's really time to pack up and leave. And honestly, this is what's so brilliant about it. He didn't just offer some vague philosophical advice. Nope. He gave them a clear, logical tool for making decisions. It's a whole system, and it's based on evaluating just two key things in your life. So, what are these two metrics? Well, they're the absolute foundation of this ancient framework. And you're going to see they are just as relevant today in your office or your home as they were way back then in a forest. It all boils down to these two things: internal growth and external support. So you basically just have to ask yourself two questions. First, is this situation, this job, this city, this relationship, is it helping me become a better, clearer-minded person? And then second, can I actually survive here without a constant soul-crushing struggle? Let's take a closer look at what those really mean. So the original Pali term for internal growth is yoga klima, and this is where you really see the depth of this idea. This isn't just about, learning a new skill at work. It translates to something like peace from bondage or the highest happiness. It's really about cultivating genuine mental well-being, things like attentiveness, focus, and ultimately, real freedom from our inner struggles. Now, the second metric, external support, or jivita parikara, is incredibly down to earth. It's simply about whether you're getting the basic necessities of life: food, shelter, medicine, with ease, which is apakasirena, or with great difficulty, kasirena. It's a recognition that, hey, we're physical beings, and our environment has to be able to sustain us. Okay, so we have our two metrics. Are we growing inside, and are we supported on the outside? Now, this is where the framework becomes a super powerful, really actionable tool. When you combine them, you get this simple little matrix with 4 possible scenarios. And believe me, each one comes with a very direct instruction. Let's see how it works. All right, scenario 1 is the no-brainer. If you are not growing on the inside and you're struggling just to get by, the answer is crystal clear. The Pali text says, Pakamatabam no watabam. One should depart, one should not stay. This place is draining you on every single level. Time to go. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. What if all your needs are met? Everything's easy, you're comfortable, but you feel totally stagnant inside, like you're not growing at all. The advice is still to leave. This is the classic golden handcuff scenario, right? The idea here is that material comfort is nice, but it's not the goal. Inner growth is the real prize. Comfort alone just isn't the purpose of the journey. And what about the opposite? What if you were growing like crazy, just becoming a better person by leaps and bounds? But man, it is a struggle. Paying the rent is hard, the work is exhausting. The instruction here is vathabam, stay. And why? Because you are achieving your primary goal. This framework is telling us that the internal growth is way more important than the external struggle. And finally, we get to the ideal situation, the sweet spot. You are growing internally and your basic needs are met with ease. The text says you should stay here yava jivam bi for your entire life. This kind of environment is a true sanctuary. It supports your whole being. This quote from the text just hammers the point home. The Buddha is reminding his followers, hey, you didn't leave everything behind just to get free food and a place to sleep. They did it for a much higher purpose, that internal growth we talked about. This is the idea that holds the whole decision matrix together. Purpose over comfort. Every time. Okay, so this is all really fascinating, ancient wisdom. But how do we actually use this today? Well, the real genius of the text is that the Buddha himself showed us exactly how to apply this logic way beyond just a literal path in the woods. He takes this exact same logic and he applies it step by step to a village, then a town, then a city, and then, and this is so powerful, he applies it to a person, a pugala. The very same framework for choosing a place to live is the one you should use for choosing who to spend your time with. And that right there is the key takeaway for all of us. Your forest grove could be your job, it could be the city you live in, it could be your closest friendship, it can be any environment you find yourself in. You can ask those two simple questions. Am I growing, and are my needs being met, to get this stunning clarity on whether you should stay or go. So in the end, this ancient system doesn't just hand you an easy answer. It's not going to tell you exactly what to do. What it does, which is maybe more important, is it gives you the right questions to ask yourself. So I want you to think about the most important environments in your life right now. Your work, your home, the people you're closest to. Are you getting both that internal growth and that external support you need? This 2,500-year-old guide, it's not just some historical artifact. It's a practical tool for right now. Your environment is shaping you every single day. The only question left is it shaping you for the better